You all email us often and ask what city leaders are doing about the state of downtown Portland right now. One answer to that is that they're putting a lot of effort into trying to lure new businesses downtown and keep the ones that are already there. Their latest effort involves big tax breaks, though. Last week, Portland City Council approved turning downtown Portland into what's called an enterprise zone. That means companies doing business in downtown would get a 5-year property tax break on new investments. It's a program run by Prosper Portland. They gave an example. If a company decides to spend $20 million on a new investment, they would be taxed about $300,000 a year. But in an enterprise zone, the company would get to keep that money for 5 years before being fully taxed. It's not a new idea, though. Enterprise zones were approved by Oregon state lawmakers back in 1985. There are about 70 of these zones across the state and several throughout Portland. Let's take a look here. We'll show you a map from Prosper Portland. So the brown color running through the northwest industrial area, that is Portland's enterprise zone. The purple, that's called the East Portland Enterprise Zone. That one covers central east side, southeast 82nd, the area around the airport, lots of places where we know there are a lot of businesses. But downtown Portland had always been left out of the enterprise zone, even though there are quite a few businesses down here, right? So as we know, in the past few years, things have really been changing downtown. Businesses have packed up and left the area or left Portland altogether. They have a lot to complain about. Let's be real. We all know the issues happening in downtown. But one of the things business owners say is hitting them the hardest is their tax bill. In fact, data from the firm Eco Northwest shows that Multnomah County businesses have faced a 32% increase in local taxes, and that's just since 2019. Meanwhile, the Portland Business Journal, it surveyed its subscribers earlier this year, and it found that 95% of respondents agreed that business taxes deterred companies trying to move to or expand in Portland. It quoted an accountant who said he doesn't have a single client in the last 4 years who said, "I'm thinking about starting a business in downtown Portland." Wow. Think about that for a second. So Prosper Portland went to City Council last week with the idea to add downtown Portland into that enterprise zone. That would mean that city commissioners, they would have to forego a chunk of revenue from property taxes. Prosper Portland told them it would pay off.
The truth is, we can no longer take Portland's growth for granted. For the first time in 40 years, the city of Portland's population declined. That's a huge issue for all of us. We should all be paying attention to that. And many challenges continue to threaten Portland's economic future. Portland's tax value proposition has shifted. I think it's no surprise that increasing livability concerns and a 32% increase in taxes to businesses since 2019 are changing that calculus for both employers and residents. We know the Central City is experiencing a serious level of office vacancy rates and decreased daytime population due to both remote work and some of those same livability concerns. And this is especially true in areas with high levels of office and tourism uses.
Prosper Portland says there's no question that this is what businesses want.
We have companies that are asking for this directly right now as they're eyeing investments, and their boards are making decisions on whether or not Portland should be their future home as a headquarter facility or whether or not they should leave.
Well, in the end, the council pretty enthusiastically supported the idea. Commissioners passing the plan unanimously. Here's Commissioner Dan Ryan.
Embracing e-zones, let's do this. Obviously, it's so important that we do everything we can at this time to create family wage jobs, and I think really just to retain the spirit. It's not comfortable when Portland loses population. It's really uncomfortable, and I think a lot of us. Well, I'll just say I felt like we were resting on our laurels for a couple decades. I really have a lot of respect for what happened in the 70s and 80s when things were rough, and that's when Portland was bold and made some really strong economic decisions. We thought out of the box, and suddenly people started noticing us. No one knew where Portland was before then, except the Blazers won a championship in 1977. Other than that, no one knew anything about Portland. I know, I lived on the East Coast at the time, because again, I couldn't get a job here. And so now's the time. We have to start thinking like that again.
Tell us what you think. Would a property tax break or new investments encourage you to open a business in downtown Portland? Do you run a business downtown? Do you know somebody who does? We would love to get your perspective, hear your story. Send us an email to thestory@kgw.com, or you can call and leave a voicemail. The number's on your screen, 503-226-5090.